Hello everyone, I'm Jeremy Bell. I am working at Sensics on OSVR. This video is going to be a short tutorial on how to use the OSVR config utility that has been distributed with the OSVR runtime. So the first thing that you want to do to get started with this utility is to download the OSVR runtime or the OSVR SDK. We'll have a link in the description, but to this page here, and this will give you lots of different downloads for OSVR, but the one you're looking for is one of these two here. So there's the runtime, there's the SDK. For this one, I have the SDK installed, but the runtime will work the same way. Once you have that installed, you can go to the runtime's bin folder here. This is a 64-bit version. With a 32-bit version, we'll have the x86 program files there. And you'll see the utility is right here. It's called OSVR config. And when you double-click that, it will launch the config util in your browser. So I've already got it launched here. So there's several tabs in the OSVR config util. This is the kind of the dashboard that'll let you go to the different tabs and explain what they are. At the top, you'll see the current configuration directory. So this is going to be the directory that is currently set as your primary runtime directory. This is controlled by a environment variable in Windows and on Linux. And so that environment variable is set with the runtime installer, but you can set it to something else at a later time if you prefer. So let's go through these tabs. First of all, let's go to the samples directory. This is a good place to start because it has a lot of different sample configurations. These are complete configurations for specific purposes, and some of these have descriptions on them. So for example, this one is the configuration for an OSVR HDK 1.2, and it sets it in direct mode. Here's one that it sets it in for 1.2 in landscape and extended mode. And there's several more of these here. Some of them have a description, some of them don't, but you can view the description right here by clicking the view next to it. When you decide on one to use, just click the use button, and that will set your current configuration to this configuration here. So that's pretty simple to get started. The next one you might want to look at is the tools directory, or the tools tab. From here you can launch the OSVR server. So if you click on launch, it should launch the server and run it in the background. The tracker viewer is a utility that helps you debug or test your setup. So once you have the OSVR server running, you can enter a path here. This is an OSVR interface path, so /me/head, and then click launch tracker viewer, and that will launch the utility and track the path that you select. And you can enter multiple paths from here, and with spaces between them, and that'll track multiple things from there. So the next thing is the plugins folder. So or tab. Sorry, I keep saying folder. So some plugins in OSVR are loaded automatically, and some plugins have to be manually selected. So they won't load automatically unless you explicitly enable them. So for example, here we've got an OpenCV video capture plugin. It's disabled currently, so in order to enable it, you just check the box next to the plugin and hit save, and that will enable the plugin. So let's go next to the devices folder. We'll save the rendering for last. So currently your devices is set up to show you the available display configurations that you can use. These will be set separately from your configuration. So if you, for example, want to start with a sample configuration, let's say HDK 1.3 direct mode, but then you want to go and change your display configuration. Maybe you want to change the faceplate of your HDK and has different display configuration for that. Or you want to switch between a mesh configuration and a standard configuration, you can do that here. And everything else in your configuration will stay the same, just the display. So here you can see the file name on the left. So this is the everything in displays folder on this path here. So here's the name of the file. Some of these have descriptions, so you can see kind of what they, a little bit about what they are. And then the model, vendor, and version, and you can show the display description on the left here, underneath them. If you want to use one, you click Use, and that will become the current description. You can see the current one is highlighted in green. Alright, so last but not least, the rendering page. This is a set of settings to configure how a render manager will render OSVR applications that support Render Manager. So from here you can enable or disable direct mode on your HDK or any other HMD that supports it right from here. At the bottom here you can actually see a checkbox that says show infrequently used settings. So these are kind of like the simple settings, and then to show advanced settings you check that box, and some of your advanced settings will show up here. Now there are different settings for different sections here. So the general settings, basically the most important one here is the setting to enable direct mode. So when applications start up, if this is checked, your HMD will automatically start up in direct mode when you start the application. Unchecking that will disable that functionality. And underneath here there's some advanced settings, high priority enabled, vertical sync, overfill factor here is probably something that you might want to adjust. This is for performance reasons. Overfill factor will increase your field of view when you have heavy distortion in your HMD, but it costs performance, significant amount of performance there. Number of render manager buffers. 1 is front buffer rendering and 2 is for double buffering. So if you have, for example, if you have tearing in your HMD when you're playing a game, you may want to set that to 2 instead of 1. And underneath here you've got display settings. So some of these settings are specific to your render manager mode, your direct mode setting up here. So if you disable this, this means that you will be running your applications in extended mode. So here's some settings for that. Let's say you have full screen enabled. This will give you the exposition of the full screen window. And so if your main screen is 1080p, your exposition is going to be 1920. That means your HMD window is going to be on the right of your main display. But you can adjust that here. If you're not full screen window, it'll be in a window itself. So here you can set the title and the X position and Y position just the same. So display settings, the display rotation, time warp, enabled or disabled. The maximum milliseconds before vsync. So typically the default setting is about 5. That's generally a good one, but you might want to increase it if you're having issues with vsync misses, which you'll notice some judder. So increase that will increase the amount of time before vsync that we start the time warp rendering. Alright, and that's pretty much it. On the right you'll see the final render manager config that will be saved when you click save at the bottom. So all you have to do is, once you change your settings the way you want them, hit save, and this will be saved. That's pretty much it for OSVR config. Thank you very much. Goodbye.